Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Achieving Unity Success Formula podcast. We are a weekly podcast, and glad you're here. And I hope you're putting this on your calendar to be here every week. We have some awesome guests. Guest today is wonderful, very talented. I'll tell you more about him in a second. On the screen, hope you can see our Unity guide about achieving unity and achieving it now. You'll see on the left, bottom left, you'll see the QR code for the guide, or on the bottom right, you'll see the QR code for our blog. Keep up with our blog, and as you can see on the screen with the guide, you can also get in to our site and subscribe to our newsletter. We would love to have you on our newsletter list and be able to give us feedback and comments. Love to talk with you more. Our company, Reality Focused Dynamics, creating solutions one reality at a time. We believe in success focused solutions. As you see, we are reality focused. That's why focused is so big in what we do each and every day. If you want to get in contact with me, you can call me at 303 Focused, 303 362 8733, or you can click the QR code on the left. That'll take us to your to our website home. The one on the right takes us to our contact. Contact me. Let me know how I can help, what we can do to work together. Achieving Unity Success Formula. This is podcast number 31. We started back in October 2004. This is our 31st podcast. It is again every Wednesday. We'd love to have you here, 1 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Eastern time. Love to be able to talk with you, share with you, and you give us feedback. Reality focused dynamics, success focused solutions. We want to discover how to eliminate those draining conflicts. And they foster that. And we want to get you a chance to foster that lasting harmony in your home, your workplace, and your social services. Discover again how to eliminate those conflicts. I talk to people quite often and I ask them, are you struggling with constant arguments and tension at home, at the office, possibly even socially? We have a program where you can master a 7-step roadmap to shift swiftly from conflict to collaboration, because communication and collaboration are the keys that will unlock that door to success. A lot of us are fed up with miscommunication, possibly broken trust. We can help you adopt a proven communication tactic that sparks genuine connection and mutual respect. One way we can help you grow toward the respect that you deserve. Unity inspires homes. It shapes society. It transforms workplaces. Do you know anyone, or maybe yourself, struggling with relationship challenges, possibly parenting difficulties? Sometimes we have troubles at home, conflict at home, we take it to work. Sometimes we have conflict at work, we take it home. We want to be able to tackle those challenges in managing parenting time during or after divorce. Those things can hinder focus and impact performance. We can turn that frustration into understanding. Sometimes we just want to say, what the frustration? We can find value in our actions instead of finding anger, because anger holds no value. Anger, ANGER, is just actions not gaining effective results. Anger, actions not gaining effective results. When have you ever been proud of being angry? When have you ever been proud of someone else for being angry? Life happens in every relationship, from parent to professional, from parenting time to partnerships, in the bedroom, in the boardroom, in every room in between. We can learn to embrace challenges and encourage a more inspired and inclusive future. That's the EII motto that we created. And you can find out more about it if you look at our blog. It's one vision, one goal, achieving unity in every area of life. What's our call to action? Our call to action is let's ditch the drama. Let's get stuff done. Let's build that bridge. Hit us up. We'll show you how to turn your life from a dumpster fire to a well-oiled machine. And some of you may say, well, it's not quite a dumpster fire, but even if it's that flame that could start that fire, get in touch with us. Let us help you. Minimizing that decision fatigue, making that decision, and reducing the time spent searching can help everyone participate in a smoother and more efficient process. Contact Reality Focus Dynamics today. And you can get us on the web, realityfocusdynamics.com, or call me, 303-362-8733. And remember, that is 303 Focused. Let's get reality focused. We have the 7 Steps Achieving Unity Success Formula, and we have it in a course. Our next course will be coming up in August. It'll be starting on August 7th. It's on Thursdays, one meeting per week, one session per week, 90 minutes per week. But it's a chance for us to build and grow forward in every way, living life fully through present moment awareness. If you're a business, association, or corporation, you can transform your life and career. Achieving Unity Success Formula 2-day workshops are now available. We can meet on-site or online, virtually. Contact me today. We know by helping, caring, and including others, we can achieve a deeper sense of unity and connection. And we want to say again, it's at home, with our families, at work, and socially. We can do this by all working together. Our upcoming podcast on April 23rd, we'll have The Dad Edge with Larry Hagner. He is the founder. On April 30th, Polishing Your Presence for Impact with Tom Coben. May 7th, Asian Pacific Islander Month with John Chen. May 14th, Business Ethics in a Multicultural Environment with Alan Gatlin. And then on May 21st, Me, My Brand, and Why. Answering that question why with Mariana Lead. And today, our special guest, who I've known for quite a while, we were Toastmasters together, and he is the 2006 third place winner of the International Speaking Conference. Just a wonderful person. He's spoken to thousands. He's coached hundreds. He is a wonderful speaker coach. He's lived boldly through every twist and turn in life that has been thrown his way, including, and we'll talk more about this shortly, an elective amputation. He's raising 6 kids, leading a legacy of resilience through his signature philosophy, perflexivity, which is persistence, flexibility, and creativity. In this episode, we'll talk more about how Rich turned life's biggest challenges into some of his greatest strengths. We'll find out more about the story behind that new foot smell. Keep that as a little bit of humor as we go forward. Why winning anyway is not just possible. Winning anyway is essential. We'll talk more about that. We'll talk more about how his achieving unity mindset fuels connection, impact, and results. Rich is known by many, many people. And he'll show us also tools to help us speak anyway, lead anyway, and live anyway, starting now. Would you please help me welcome Mr. Rich Hopkins?
Hey, Mark.
Hi, Rich. How are you today?
Doing great. Glad to be
I,
here.
I am glad you're here. It's good to see you.
Oh, the wonder of technology, right?
It
Separate
is.
states, separate parts of the country, and yet here we are.
Here we are right next to each other. That's where we should be. So welcome to the show, Rich. Help me out. Let's start off with describing yourself as believing in anyway. Can you elaborate on what that philosophy means and how it shapes your approach to life and to work?
Well, I think that the word anyway is something we should all work into our vocabulary because we can win anyway. I go by the win anyway guy because I think no matter what your situation, you can win, even though the world may be telling you that you aren't winning and that you are, in fact, losing. But it goes beyond just winning and losing. Sometimes it goes into loving anyway, or speaking
Nice.
anyway, laughing anyway, dancing anyway, whatever it may be that you want to do that the world is telling you, yeah, you can't do that. You shouldn't do that. If you want to do it anyway.
Wow. Rich, I like that. That's never give up. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, not just never give up, it's never stop yourself. So
Okay.
many times we don't even start because the voices we hear from our family or our friends, our teachers growing up, our bosses, even just the media around us tells us that we aren't enough. We don't have enough. We don't have enough money. We're not smart enough. We're not good looking enough to do what it is we want to do. So you have to do it anyway just to start doing it.
That's a very good point. And I like that. I hear some thoughts in that process of how we sometimes believe what others say about us and how they may feel about us, if they think we're good looking or not good looking. And we take that inside ourselves when why do we care how they judge us?
Right. One of the key phrases in my keynote is, are you who you always wanted to be or who the world has let you become?
Wow. Now that's powerful. How the world has let you become. That's strong because that's again letting other people judge us instead of judging ourselves. And as you say, winning, moving forward anyway, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's key that we take responsibility for our own lives, our own victories, and our own losses. And when we do have a loss, we can turn that into a win. You know, the world will say, oh, well, you didn't achieve your goal, whatever that goal may be. And so you can't count it as a win. You've lost. You're a loser. We get that in our head. We see that in the mirror that we're losers if we haven't done exactly what we set out to do. But hey, if you have at least attempted it, maybe you've fallen short, but you've learned something, learned what to do and what not to do. You have achieved some level of success, more than likely beyond where you started. You need to celebrate that. The world will say you have no right to celebrate that. And that prevents you from keeping your momentum, your energy, your self esteem. It's a constant battle with people telling you you're losing anyway. Like, no, see where you are, figure out what you've learned, celebrate, and then do it again.
I like that. Do it again. Trying anyway. I work with that a lot on my speech and in my keynote, talking about achieving unity with others and encouraging, inspiring, keeping that inclusion growing forward because we are all the same in so many ways. We need to get beyond some of that negativity. I think I'm hearing you say that too many people bring forward that negativity and maybe that division that's created that may come from possibly what, jealousy at times?
You know, a lot of people want you to fail, believe it or not, because they don't want to feel that you're better than they are. They failed their whole lives, so you've certainly got to fail as well. It's sad,
Right.
but that often comes from our best friends and our close family. It's amazing how many people outside of us aren't really as supportive as we may wish they were, or even as they appear to be.
That is a great point. And I see that again as I talk about that negativity. It's as if people are looking for something wrong just to be able to put the situation or the person, as you're mentioning, down in some way because they have the crazy thought or maybe their own self-endowed belief that if they put someone else down, that makes them better. But it doesn't, does it?
Absolutely not. And I mean, that is the most basic uh, passive aggressive form of bullying that you can have. And we think of bullying as somebody pushing you down or beating you up in a fist fight or even forcing you to do something you don't want to do in one way or another. But telling you repeatedly you can't do something, and then when you try it and fail anyway, and having them tell you, I told you so, that's bullying on a level as well.
That's a great point. And I like what you said earlier too, because we all fail. And there's the saying about, was it Thomas Edison when he invented electricity? He tried 10,000 times, approximately. And he says, I didn't fail 10,000 times. I found 9,999 times that don't work. Didn't fail. Found those times that don't work. And that's more of the attitude that we all need to take. It's not that we failed. We found a way through our testing that it doesn't work, and we won't do it again. We can then grow it forward, try anyway, win anyway, and continue on to that next anyway.
Absolutely. And that's why I think, doing a review on where you were to where you have gotten gives you the opportunity to see the progress you've made and giving yourself the permission to celebrate is incredibly important because that will give you just that little bit of extra energy instead of the negative energy you get when you keep thinking about the fact that you did not get to where you want to go. Celebrate where you got to and then go for it again. Or, believe it or not, it's okay to do something different, to quit, to change tactics. Maybe you've had a goal for 10 years and you've never quite reached it. You've come close, but you've never gotten to it. And suddenly you're thinking, hey, there's this other goal that I want to go after. Why don't I switch my attention? Why don't I move my energy over here? That's okay too.
I think you're right. And as you were talking about that, it makes me think of some of the basketball tournaments, some of the football tournaments, and some of the chess tournaments that the winner is always highly celebrated. But how many people, how many teams did the second place team also win? How many wins did they also have that so many others just wish they could have gone as far as the second place team? But as you're mentioning, it's not celebrated.
Well,
But we
it's
need
that
to celebrate
culture.
all of our successes, right? Go ahead.
It's that culture that we have of competition in football and basketball and all these others. Even at your job, if you aren't the top salesperson, you aren't the best. We feel like there can only be one winner.
That's right.
But life is not the same as a competition. Really, you're only in competition with yourself unless you choose to compete with others. You can set your own goals. You can define your own victory and win anyway, and not let yourself be described as a winner or a loser by some outside person.
And how many times does that outside person have no idea about the path that you walked, the path you took, the struggles, the wins that you did have, but they're the first to put someone else down. It's sad, as you mentioned, it's very sad. And as you mentioned your keynote, that's one of the things that I think a lot of people, even when they're being awarded or when they're being celebrated, a lot of people don't like to have that spotlight. They don't like speaking. People don't want to speak because they're afraid to be up in front of that room. Is that some of the problems also with people accepting that celebration, accepting that award?
Well, I think in terms of accepting awards, being accepting recognition, there can be a fear of that recognition because you feel that maybe you weren't deserving of it, which is kind of a different argument. It's a lack of self-esteem issue that a world kind of creates in us by creating all the competition in the first place. But in terms of speaking, that that fear is very different than the fear that we think it is. You know, they say that speaking is the number one fear. Jerry Seinfeld's famous for the joke about you'd rather be in the casket than giving the eulogy.
Yeah.
But in fact, speaking really isn't the world's number one fear. I mean, the
Oh,
fear of dying is got to be above that, right? I mean, you're going to speak. Somebody's got a gun to your head. You're going to give a talk. You're going to find a way to make that happen.
that's a good
It
point.
might not be a good talk, but you'll speak. What people are afraid of is just that they will not give a good presentation, that they'll be laughed at, they'll be looked down on because they haven't presented well enough. I mean, that's why we have this podium, because we're wanting it to protect us from people throwing vegetables. So you can hide. Uh,
Hide something to hide behind.
that's right. But what we forget as speakers is that the audience doesn't want us to be bad. They're rooting for us to be good, and they will find every excuse in the book for us to be worth their time if they've taken the time to come see us. So don't feel like your audience is your adversary. They're actually your cheerleaders. That should calm your anxiety and allow you to give a better presentation, assuming you've actually done the work beforehand to
Yeah,
prepare and practice.
that is so true. And as always, I have had the honor of listening to you speak, and I know you've had a very diverse career, and you've been from sales to marketing to becoming a well-known, renowned speaker and coach. Um, Third place was at the 2006 World Championship of Speaking. Congratulations. That's an honor almost beyond thinking. So what are some key turning points or experiences that led you down your path?
Well, in terms of getting to the World Championship of Public Speaking, which I ended up at twice, I took third in
Mhm.
2006, finished in the top 10 in 2008.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. But it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for my mentor back in 2001. I was in a club in Salt Lake City, and back then we had a manual with 10 speeches that we had to give. Our club happened to vote on best speaker every time we had a club meeting, and I won best speaker 9 out of 10 times as I went through those 10 speeches. I was pretty full of myself. I was pretty happy with how I'd done and was kind of wondering why I didn't win the 10th time out of 10. But, afterwards, at that moment, so I've earned that first award. My mentor named Billy Jones, I used to call her a little old lady, but now I think I'm as old as she was back then. So we're just going to call her a little lady from the South. And you'll have to pardon my attempt at a Southern accent, Mark. But she said, Reg, you could be a great speaker. I could see you on the world championship stage. If only you would learn to say something.
Interesting.
Ouch. That that moment changed everything for me because as I drove home, I realized she was absolutely right. I had spent my first 10 speeches pretty much just getting by on good humor, stories about my family, my, at that time, good looks and charm. I hadn't given the audience anything really of value besides laughter here and there. I was a good speaker, but I didn't ever deliver a good message. So after that, the next speech I gave, I worked hard on. I created a speech that had a message, talked about how important family is by telling a story about my wife's family that was falling apart at that point. The two sides of her family were warring with each other. And
Oh,
one of the nieces at 1 years old ended up with sudden onset leukemia, ended up
oh
in the
my
hospital,
gosh.
and both sides of the family spent a couple of days in the hospital. And unfortunately, her niece passed away.
I'm sorry.
But that family reunited. You talk about unity. After that moment, that family had restored their unity. After that speech, a guest to the club came up to me and said, I needed to hear that speech tonight. I'm so glad
Wow.
I came. Apparently, she didn't think I had anything else to say because she never came back. But she did tell me she needed to be there that night. And from that moment on, I have worked to always have some sort of a message, some takeaway that I can give to my audience because I'm taking up their time, the most valuable resource they have. So if I'm not giving something of value back to them, what am I really doing?
Those are some great points. It's sad sometimes that it takes a situation like that to bring us back to achieving unity, but I'm so glad that happened. And you're quite a family man yourself, I believe. You have what, 6 children? How has fatherhood influenced your perspectives on your resilience and your leadership and motivating others?
Well, I kept having kids because I kept needing new stories.
Great subjects, huh?
Absolutely. I mean, they're all very different kids with very different situations. And I have used my kids continually in my speeches because they have taught me a tremendous amount over the last 25 years.
That is excellent. 6 kids, that's quite a handful. I guess it's one more than a handful.
Yeah, it's more like a bunch full.
A bunch full.
But
Well,
yeah, I mean, my wife had two kids when I married her, and then we went ahead and had four more on top of that. And it's been such an experience, really of diversity, because I have some kids with autism, others with Asperger's, some with ADHD, some with nothing really going on except, the virus that is being a teenager.
yeah.
So, I we've experienced a huge spectrum of behaviors and challenges and trying to find solutions for each one of them as they go through school. You've heard me talk about my daughter Bailey before. She's part of my Win Anyway message because of what she taught me through her medical situation.
And that strength that has come from all the things that you've been through, as you mentioned, the kids, and even yourself personally. Now, can you tell us a little bit more about your situation? I think they called it elective amputee.
Yeah, I call it elective amputee because I want people to understand that I didn't have to let go of my leg. I grew up with a birth defect that made my left leg smaller than my right leg. It never built up muscle. It was about a quarter of an inch, maybe a little bit more, shorter than my right leg. So I always had a limp. My ankle wasn't really put together right. My hip had issues. I had 10 surgeries before I was 10 years
Wow.
old just to enable me to be able to walk. And I did. I walked, I ran, I played basketball. I did as many of the things as I possibly could that my doctors told me I shouldn't do. In fact, I tried out for my high school basketball team. They wouldn't sign off on it. Rich, you've got to slow down because if you don't, you're not going to be able to walk someday. I said, yeah, well, I'd like if that's going to happen, I want to at least remember what it was like to walk, to run, to play basketball. And while he never signed off on that, I did continue to do all those things until 2006, when one January morning I woke up and I could not walk. So I did what most people would do if they get up and they can't walk. Called my boss. I took the day off. I was in outside sales, so I had a bit of a flexible schedule. I ended up taking a couple of weeks off, crawling around my house, finding out how bad 6 kids can make a shag carpet. And finally, I gave in, went to the doctor, who told me that I had a couple of options. I could do surgery, but it probably wouldn't last more than a year or two because there wasn't much left of my ankle. Or I could get a brace, a full length leg brace, or I could let it go. Well, I wasn't ready to let it go. I'd spent my whole life trying to keep using my leg to continue to walk. So I went in to get fitted for a brace, and the doctor who was fitting me was a below the knee amputee. So I asked him what his life was like, what he was able to do. And he told me he was able to do almost everything he was doing before. So I got fitted for that brace and I went home and changed my mind. Decided, well, let's let it go. If I have a choice between a brace that is going to be stiff and not allow for great range of motion, or a super deluxe robot leg, as my kids call it, I'm going to go with that. That's what we did. I had surgery in April. I was walking by August, where I walked onto that world championship stage. And as I tell people, as you intimated at the beginning of all this, there really is nothing like that new foot smell.
It's such a great attitude to look at that and what you've been through, the struggles, and to see that you do win anyway.
Well, it's a illustration of how people in general often hold on to something too long. I probably should have had that surgery 2 years prior because I had spent a long time getting tired, having my foot hurt by nighttime,
Oh,
not getting to do a lot of the things that I wanted to do with the kids. So if I had done it earlier, I would have benefited more. And think about that in your own life, though. What have you been holding on to because you find it so important that you can't imagine yourself letting it go? For us as individuals, sometimes it's a relationship, sometimes it's an addiction. In the corporate world, it can be employees, it can be an entire division of your company, it can be a directive that you've set that it has to be this way, but it's not working, but it was your idea and you don't want to let go of it. Well, let go of it, because when you let go, you can grab on to something even better.
what a great concept. Let go of it anyway, and then go on to something better. Build and grow, and for us to keep that positive attitude, as I mentioned earlier, ditch that division, ditch that negativity, and start building the connection. Start building, as you're saying, the next step forward. I love the way you think in the processes that you've put together. And you've also referred to a term that I think you created, and I'll let you talk about it, but the perflexitivity. Where did that come from?
Well, when you compete in as many contests as I do, sometimes necessity is the mother of invention. And I needed some original idea. So I went with perflexitivity, persistence, flexibility, and creativity all put together. You need to have all three to be able to go out and create something that is going to be successful. You can't just be persistent because then you're just butting your head against a wall. You have to be flexible and be willing to maybe change directions, uh, come up with a new goal, as I said earlier, and then be creative. Maybe you're going to jump over the wall. Maybe you're going to dig under the wall. Maybe you're going to go somewhere else where there isn't a wall. Be perflexitive, have perflexitivity.
And I like that too because it, as you mentioned, it's the persistence. You want to persist towards your goals and your dreams and win anyway. You want to be flexible to make adjustments, but even to have that creativity, adding extra step to what you're doing. So you're not doing the same thing all the time. You're not bringing yesterday's problems into tomorrow. You're being creative and bringing new ideas going forward, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's
Well,
all part of winning anyway. It all ties in to winning anyway. When you let something go to get something better, it's tying in to win anyway. I didn't lose my leg. I won the ability to keep walking.
what a concept. You didn't lose your leg. You won the ability to keep walking. I wish I'm going to, and I've heard you say this, give this speech a couple of times, of course, but I want to make that more of a drive for me to think about that. There's some things I'm not losing, but I'm gaining another ability to win anyway in another step, another growth forward, right?
Right. And it's always your
It,
choice to win anyway, to love anyway, to laugh anyway. My daughter taught me perhaps the most important part of win anyway, which is living anyway. I don't know. Do we have time for me to tell a short story?
oh, absolutely. We have about 20 minutes.
All right. Well, my oldest daughter, Bailey, she has neurofibromatosis, which is a genetic disorder that affects 1 in 3,000 people.
Wow.
Most people have never heard of it. It's the least known but most common genetic disorder out there. It just doesn't have, telethons to publicize it. And people with NF have tumors at the end of their nerve endings. So they can have it all over their face, their body. They can be huge, they can be small, they can just be bumps. They can just be internal. You might not even see them. You have tumors on your back, in your legs. So those people with NF often don't show up in public because they're fearful of how people will react to the way they look. So that all feeds into why it's one of the least well-known genetic disorders. Well, it's not uncommon in my family. My wife has it, and 3 of our 6 kids then have it. With Bailey, it manifested most dangerously with a brain tumor when she was
Oh,
15 years old. And the MRI results came back. We went in to see the doctor, and it was about the size of an M&M. We were lucky because it was not um, why the term is escaping me, but it wasn't cancerous. It wasn't going to just grow in that way, and but it was still dangerous because where it was in her brain, it was in an inoperable spot between the two halves. And if it did grow, benign was what I was looking for. It's a benign tumor, but it can still grow, it can still change shape. It just wasn't going to be like cancer and take over. Uh, hopefully. Regardless, knowing we had to do something about it, we went with chemotherapy. That was our first option, our first choice over at Children's out in Aurora, Colorado. And our goal was to shrink that tumor. After the first 3 months, we were pretty hopeful that we had made the right decision and we were going to get some results. When the doctor came in, that M&M sized tumor had grown to a peanut M&M size. So
Mhm.
not quite double, not the news we wanted. I turned to Bailey and said, "How do you feel?" She just shrugged her shoulders. Like, "Do you understand what this means?" Mm. I said, "Bailey, what do you want to do next?" She said, "I don't know. Can we get a slushie on the way home?" What? Do you not understand what's happening? Okay, I did not say that, but I
Right.
thought that because really she knew exactly what was happening and she knew she could only control what she could control. And that was whether or not we get a slushie on the way home, which we did. She knew that she was in for more chemotherapy, and we ran 2 more years of chemotherapy.
Wow.
As we approached her 16th birthday, I asked her, "What do you want? It's sweet 16. What do you want?" Because, "Dad, I don't know. I just want to know that I'm going to live to be 17." And it still breaks my heart, even though that is now 12 years ago. And she is living in Oklahoma with her husband with a tumor that is
Great.
still benign, doing what she was doing even back then. And that was getting up every day and living anyway, living her life, controlling what she could. And she still does that to this day.
That is a beautiful story. Thank you so much for sharing again. Excuse me. That that living the way concept is so astounding. A thought like that and how she keeps her mind thinking to another step. Live anyway. Enjoy life to where we are and make what you've got control of the best it can be.
And that's another situation where we could listen to the world that tells us, "Well, you're sick and you've got a brain tumor and you can't do this and you can't do that. And we feel bad for you." Well, she fights against that as much as she can and finds her victories. So by living anyway, she's winning anyway.
Beautiful. That is a beautiful story. I could just look up to her and people like that and hope I can be that way to take our next step forward in everything that we do. And I think you speak a lot of the power within her because again, you put 25 years of experience in front of audiences and to be in the world championship is it's amazing. What what's been the most important lesson that you've learned in the process of connecting with people? You mentioned about learning to have a story to tell, but what else have you helped to speak anyway? You've been through a lot of challenges. You've won so many. I've watched you win so many times, but what's keeping you keep going of these 25 years in front of audiences? What have you learned about connecting with people?
Well, it goes beyond speaking anyway. And this is what I tell my clients. I coach people who want to become keynote speakers, or maybe they want to talk about their business if they're entrepreneurs, or they have to speak for the corporation they work for. And that is, it's not necessarily about you or the journey you've taken or the product you are selling or the idea you're trying to pitch. It's about what your journey, your product, and your idea will do for your audience. You have to find a way to connect your story with the audience's story, with their needs.
Their
You had
needs,
pain as you achieved certain of your goals. You wanted something and you couldn't get it, and then you figured it out and you got it. Well, that audience is feeling similar pain about similar parallel situations in their life. And so when you're talking about, say, persistence, flexibility, and creativity, they may not need to use those things on the same tasks that you did, but they still need to use those concepts. So you have to connect to their pain. What is it that they want to do? If you're in front of a group of realtors, what's their pain? Well, they need customers. They need houses. They need to overcome their fear of networking or cold calling. You know, you could take that from realtors to virtually any type of salesperson. You're talking
right?
about relationships. There are all sorts of fears that occur in relationships. You just talk about everyday life, and we're facing fears every day. So it's not about how you climbed Mount Everest. It's about how you used your uh, power of the mind to push yourself to the top of Mount Everest that will help them push themselves to the top of the pile of laundry in their son's room.
I like the way you said that too, because we all have our Mount Everest. And sometimes it may only be that pile of laundry in the laundry room. There's a different challenges and possibly struggles sometimes that we all come about in everything that we do. For us to build a better tomorrow based on the results of today. And one of the things I caught from what you were just saying also is you do a lot of keynotes. You're up in front of a room. It may be 20, 50, 100 people. It may be 1,000 people, what you're doing. But as you're saying, there's a lot of people that also may be in a room of one or two, but it could be the CEO, CFO, CIO in the C-suite. And that's a struggle. And you teach them how to work that stage as well, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, both with a win anyway concept when I'm giving a keynote, but in training. You know, CEOs and CIOs and managers, they all need to be better communicators. And the people they work with need to be better communicators. So getting an opportunity to go into a company is something that I'm really working on over the next 12 months to be able to teach groups of people how to deliver their message in such a way that their audience sees the value in it and takes action on the message that they deliver, regardless of what that message is.
Do you have a funny story of any of so many people that you have coached? To bring put a little lightness to it, do you have a funny story of the people that you have coached and things that have happened in your coaching that
Well, the funniest
you can
story
share?
I have is probably, I mean, I have a lot of stories that are funny, but there's client coach confidentiality.
Good. No names, please.
We're gonna stay away from some of those, and some of them have been funny looking. But the first client I ever had was in 2004. I was at a Toastmasters meeting. He came in, talked to the president of the club, said, "I've got to give a father of the bride speech, and I'm not a good speaker. I don't know what to do." So they sent him my way. Now, he was a German with a heavy German accent. His name was Franz. He was not really that capable of coming up with a cohesive, short, emotional, funny speech. We tried. And ultimately, I just dug and dug and dug for all these stories with his daughter, and I wrote his speech for him. We practiced it and practiced it. I filmed him even way back in '04. Had my little camera. We'd film, we'd watch it over. He'd practice and practice and practice. We were together for 3 months, going to lunch, going to dinner, working on this. I charged him $100. That was, he said, "What are you going to charge?" I'd never coached anybody before formally. I said, "Hey, give me $100." He gives me $100. By the time we're done at these different dinners, he's slipped me enough hundreds that it turned into 1,000. And
Wow.
I also have somewhere in this pile next to me a nice letter from him telling me how well it went, how the people in the wedding party told him that it was the best Father of the Bride speech they'd ever heard. They never imagined him being that funny and that emotion filled. They were so happy with him, and he was happy with the speech that he gave. See, now what I didn't realize, and this may be the funniest part of all. So yeah, I charged him $100. Turns out he was holding this wedding for his daughter on top of a castle in Vienna. So this guy had
Wow.
money. So I probably should have started at 1,000 and maybe ended up with 5,000.
It's funny. It's funny. How do you now we heard a little bit at the first of this interview that with your young lady that was telling you about to speak about something. How do you help the people that you coach? And I've heard about your coaching. You're a marvelous coach. People need to contact you. But can you tell us how do you help us? How do you help people
Well,
get to their core message?
I walk people through the 3 Ds. I help them discover, develop, and deliver their best message to their best audience so they can get their best payday. I mean, you need all three components if you want to be a successful speaker. It starts with having a message. So we dig into who you are, what you've done, and what message you think you want to deliver, and then the best message you really have to offer. Sometimes those are the same things, sometimes they aren't. Sometimes people think they want to speak on something, but they don't really have what they need to speak on it. But if they switch to something else, they can knock it out of the park. So we discover that message and then we develop it into a full out keynote or a TED talk or a shorter talk. People don't always get 45 minutes to give a keynote anymore. Sometimes it's
Right.
20 minutes, sometimes it's an hour. So I teach them how to be flexible in how they build their speech so they end up with a big enough chunk of a speech that they can go longer or shorter with ease. And we go through delivery. We practice delivery just like I did with Franz back in the old days, except now I'm recording them on Zoom as I watch them speak.
Hmm.
But the third part, the deliver, that's the toughest of all. And I warn my clients before they even hire me, if you're not willing to do the work, let's not even start. Because to get on a stage, you have to either have products that you're going to sell and go pay to be on stage somewhere so you can make money in the back of the room, or you need to be willing to send enough emails, make enough phone calls, network with enough people that you end up on stages that you're getting paid to be on. My current client, it took him 365 contacts before he finally got one stage. Took him a year because he was only doing two a day. Well, I guess it took him 6 months because he was doing two a day.
Today.
And then he finally got on a stage. But from that stage, he's gotten incrementally more stages. And he went from charging $500 to go speak at a chamber to charging $7,500 to go speak for a company that was attending that chamber. But it was because he was
Nice.
willing to do the work.
That is beautiful. That's an excellent story. That you do the work to get where you want to be. That's how it happens, and that's how you win anyway, right?
Absolutely.
That's beautiful. Okay, we have about 3 more minutes, 2.5 more minutes. Do you have any closing comments?
Well, I want to let people know that whatever it is you want to do, don't let yourself get stopped by some fear of an outside consequence. We have enough inside fears to stop us, to be worrying about
Yes.
other people and how they're going to judge us. Just move forward, have a plan, move forward, see how far you get. And then, if you don't achieve that goal the first time, give yourself the grace to stop. And these are the three big ones with WinAnyway. You've got to review where you were to where you are now. What did it take? What did you learn? Then you want to rejoice, celebrate what you did accomplish, what you did learn. Go bowling, get some ice cream, go do something fun and celebrate, rejoice in what you've done. And then refire. Just launch again towards that goal or towards, if necessary, a different, better, more achievable goal. Review, rejoice, refire.
That is beautiful. Thank you, Rich. That is going to give us all a good fire to take forward with us and to build for the next one, the next thing that we do, so that we too can win anyway. I appreciate you being here. It's an honor. It's always good to see you. I've seen you through Toastmasters. I'm always amazed at what you do and continue to do. Hope all the audience, as they come and listen to this, and listen to the recording, will give you a call. What's the best way for them to contact you?
Best way to contact me is email me, rich@richhopkins.com. I keep it really simple. Or
Uh,
Google Rich Hopkins Speaker, and there I'll be.
Sounds great, Rich. Well, I wish you the best. And I know you and I'll be together at one of these next meetings, Speakers Association meetings, Toastmasters, or somewhere else. Looking forward to seeing you again. It's always an honor and a pleasure. So to our audience, thank you for being here. Hope you'll join us again next week. We'll have another guest coming up next Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. And we all want to wish Rich the best. And again, Rich, thank you for being here. It's an honor. Hope you have
Thanks,
a wonderful
Mark.
day. Everyone else, same too. Thank you all. See you next week.